It's time to review WWE RAW. This one is from May 22nd, I do believe,
Yep.
2017. I'm Mike. He is Byron.
I
A big thanks to Captain Mondo for the artwork. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name this time until I receive confirmation as to what it is.
think honestly you should just put his phone number and mailing address out there for people. That'd probably be good.
That would be fantastic. All right, let's dive into WWE Raw. We had Bray Wyatt come out and kind of kick us off. I enjoyed the promo. The content
Yeah.
was standard, but the delivery, again, very, very good. Basically, everyone is a victim, which is pretty good. Roman Reigns came out to interrupt him and got booed pretty heavily, and that's never really a good sign when your main face is getting booed, coming out to interrupt your main heel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would agree.
Actually, they were booing at just the mention of Roman. It should be mentioned.
I think that between Bray Wyatt's promo and the Heyman spot later on, those are the only real two highlights of the entire night. And honestly, even though I watched it last night, I vaguely remember a couple of matches that happened, but the rest just went out the window. Nothing happened, and it was very boring.
Wouldn't overly disagree, to be honest. You know what? I will give Roman Reigns a little bit of credit. His promo here was actually pretty decent. It was very short, very to the point, and can we please have that always be his promos as opposed to some of the nonsense they've had him say?
Yeah.
Basically did the "this is my yard. Why don't you run your mouth to my face so I can punch it off?" And that works. That's the badass promo.
Pretty much. Only nobody really buys him as a badass. He's just. I'm pretty sure that the Roman Reigns character in the last probably 3 or 4 years has done more to destroy kayfabe in particular than anything else. I mean, people thought it was bad when John Cena was being pushed literally all over the map. This is just stupid.
You're probably reasonably correct on that part. Anyways, to finish it off, Bray Wyatt basically just laughed, and then he told Roman that only he can beat Brock. Roman disagrees. Brawl tease. Kurt Angle comes out and says, "You two are going to have a match."
Holla, holla, player!
Which I will say that this night was like kind of the kind of silliness of, we keep making matches on the night, and it's like, well, why did we have so much dead space on the program for you to do this?
Yeah, I still don't understand why they have 3 hours but can't fill it with matches that people want to see. Doesn't make any sense.
So we got the Bray versus Roman match. We got, you know what? We at least got some "Let's Go Roman" chants. You know, they were dueling with the "Roman sucks" chants, which is not good.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some positive crowd reaction to him. It's not really a ton to say about this match, and because it's a short one, which, you know, ended in a DQ. But yeah, there's some decent power spots here. I did like the early attempted assist Abigail with Roman only escaping it, and Bray did hit a pretty nice Uranagi over the course of the match. So that's about it, really. Joe's music hits. He comes out, and then he hits Roman to get the DQ, and chokes him out. Then offers Bray the chance to attack Roman, only to turn on Bray and try to choke Bray out. Seth Rollins makes a save, you know, and him and Roman stand tall, and I mean, kind of nice timing with Roman Reigns intercepting Bray's attempt to attack Rollins from behind with a Superman punch, but we just seen Roman Reigns and Rollins standing tall at the end of a lot of stuff, and it's overplayed at this point.
Standard boring face stuff with your standard boring faces. I don't understand how they don't understand. Pretty much.
Kinda. We had a backstage promo where Rollins and Roman are kind of bickering. Roman doesn't need Rollins' help. Rollins says he's not helping him. He just wants to beat up Joe, which actually was one of the better things Rollins said on the night.
Yep.
And then we end up with a tag match: Roman versus Rollins, and Roman and Rollins versus Bray Wyatt and Joe. And the Drifter comes by and does his thing and ends up with a match with Dean Ambrose.
Yarp.
Next up, we had Akira Tozawa and Daivari. I like this match. I mean,
Yeah.
it was too short to get like super well into, but you know, it had good.
I mean, that's just how they booked 205 Live. Is they put really quick shit matches on that have one spot, maybe two spots, and then nobody cares, so nobody watches 205 Live. So they try to rectify the situation by putting maybe next week they'll have two shitty quick matches. And
there was nothing shitty about this match, but it was quick. I mean, it had a good pace. There was some nice changes in who had the control, and Daivari actually worked pretty well as like a power-based cruiserweight almost.
There's only so much you can do in 3 minutes or less.
Oh yeah, and I would say these two maximized really every second of that.
Yeah, I would say so.
Tozawa wins after a senton. They had this whole thing with Kendrick backstage doing the I do everything better than, you know, it's the same stuff he's been doing this whole time, so it absolutely doesn't do anything and just subtracts from the match. Crowd reacts to Tozawa, so I mean, you've got a 205er that the crowd actually seems to care about, so let's try not to kill that.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that he's the only one they know. Like, when was the last time they put, what was it, like three weeks ago or something like that, maybe more, that they had an actual Neville match? Or am I forgetting about something that they had an actual champion doing?
Nothing really. They've had him on 205 Live doing some tag matches. But, yeah, I can't think of anything Raw. Sasha Banks is backstage, cuts a standard but pretty decent promo, and then it gets painful when Alicia Fox and Noam Dar get involved because this whole storyline is cringeworthy. Anyways, we move on to Dean Ambrose versus the Drifter, Elias Sampson. I did like that the Drifter started off with no actual theme music. He just plays in the ring.
Yeah, that's what he did in NXT as well. Most of the time he would come strolling down to the ring with a wireless mic on his head so he could sing while walking to the ring. I think it's funnier when he's not doing things like, you know, wrestle, but he's a good wrestler. It's just that nobody cares because everybody just hates his guitar song shtick.
I like it, but at the same time, I understand that the crowd doesn't. So maybe need to rethink this.
Yeah, I don't think in the history of wrestling anybody playing or singing their own music coming down to the ring or in the ring has ever gotten over for anybody at any point.
Can't overly think of anyone. Honky Tonk Man to
But he didn't play any, like, they played his theme music and he would dance around and he'd bring a guitar with him. He didn't perform.
I was just saying that's probably the closest thing.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess you could count maybe Road Dogg, but that's only because he turned on Jeff Jarrett, who did that crap, and then he didn't ever do it himself ever again until he decided that he was going to rap with Quick, Pretty Ricky.
And then with Conan.
Yeah, not good.
I enjoyed it sometimes.
You would.
So, I mean, I think we both reasonably liked the match, but Miz and Maurice being on commentary was really stupid because it actually takes away from the match with all the bickering that's going on commentary.
Yeah, I don't really enjoy having guest wrestlers on commentary as a general thing. They just do very stupid things like contradict. Somebody will ask them an actual question and then, well, case in point, Neville. Neville's horrible on guest commentary. Great in the ring, great in a promo, great on an interview. Horrible in guest commentary because all he does is threaten to kick the shit out of the guys in suits. It's the dumbest thing. It's
pretty much.
Horrible.
It's just, threaten the face commentator for not really any reason half the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say if you went toe-to-toe with Byron Saxton, he probably would beat the fuck out of you.
I don't have any
plays
idea.
A nice guy. He seems to play a nice guy, but I have a feeling that he's only as nice as, as far as you'll push him.
I mean, I did like the ending. It kind of brought home the idea that, frankly, we'll probably see a title change at the pay-per-view with Miz getting himself intentionally basically setting up a disqualification for Ambrose. Maybe Maurice hits him.
I could see that happening, and then I could see, one of the GMs coming down and going, no, we ain't having that.
That could be a thing. Miz with the title again does absolutely nothing for me. But...
No, it doesn't do anything for the title, doesn't do anything for the Miz, doesn't do anything for Ambrose, unless they're freeing Ambrose up to do something else. In which case, it would be hilarious if they put the belt on Maurice by accident. Like
that could be amusing.
If somehow or other they work some kind of or some sort of shenanigans where she interferes and then somebody randomly gets DQ'd, but then she's the winner accidentally somehow.
That would be
funny.
Bizarre yet funny.
I would enjoy it.
You know what? Not a bad debut for the Drifter on the main roster. Yeah, he got some good offense in. Wasn't getting dominated by Ambrose by any means, and technically did get the W. So it's not bad. We transition to backstage where Cass is freaking out because, and we learned that Enzo has gotten his ass kicked. Got the medics in there talking about what does he remember. The answer is nothing. Then Kurt Angle says, "We'll find out who did this." Cass says, "You better find out who did it before I do," insinuating that there will be trouble if he does find out first.
On the double.
And we don't know where this is going because we didn't get really an answer on Raw. There's some theories.
Yeah, the prevailing theory with the dirt sheets is that the Revival are ready to come back, so they're setting up a feud.
Which works. I mean, you take him out and Revival comes into play, and yeah, I mean, it's all good.
And they are chop guys.
Then we got probably my favorite moment of the night. We got Finn Balor in the ring. He drops the Finn Balor or the Balor Club references. He messed up his promo, but recovered beautifully by, frankly, just admitting that he messed up. That was good.
Yeah, it was great. I can't think of the last time anybody actually did that, and he was cool about it. That's the thing about his character is he's just too cool to really have any of that affect him. He's like, "Oops, I meant this." And was it earlier in the night or was it later on when Kurt Angle botched saying Balor and called him Finn Balor?
Later on, I got a note about it.
He didn't even blink. He's just like, whatever. Pretty
much. Heyman comes out, interrupts, and the crowd absolutely loves pretty much everything Heyman does. If I have one gripe, he does use the word freaking too much.
Well, no, he did that specifically in conjecture or in reference to Rollins. He was only doing it because Seth freaking Rollins is a horrible freaking gimmick, and you should freaking get rid of it as freaking quick as you freaking can, which is why he's running it into the ground.
He used it for a couple of the other people he was talking about too, though.
No,
it is a bit much. Like if he just limited it to Rollins, I probably would have been more behind it.
I don't remember him saying it for anybody except for Rollins. So.
Pretty sure he did it with Bray as well.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember that particular part.
But, he runs down everyone but Balor. Balor is not a victim, according to Paul Heyman. He actually puts Balor over as the most talented performer, and that's the match he wants to see. It's the one that interests him. So... frankly, Paul Heyman probably did more here to get Balor over than has been done since he came back from injury.
Yep.
Because they haven't had him winning much.
Yeah, you've got a potential new Shawn Michaels, and you're burying him. That's going to work well.
Balor wants him to deliver a message to Brock, basically that he's going to win, and he's going to see him for the title. So, I mean... great work, and then we got a pretty good match on top of that with Carl Anderson coming out to wrestle against Balor. I will say that maybe this was just the Canadian feed, I don't know, but the match started with a commercial. Like we missed the start of the match so we could have a commercial.
Honestly, I think that should be their new format. They should just have only commercials, and we won't bother with the wrestling because some days they just don't know what they're doing. They should just send a message to the affiliate stations and go, listen, this is not a good episode. Just run all the commercials for 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really disagree. This show wasn't particularly good, but I mean, it had some good stuff. I will say this: the commentary team is like the king of WWE wanting its cake and or wanting the cake and eating it too. Basically, they don't want to put the Balor Club together, but they will call out their history in Japan repetitively during the match.
Yeah, they'll make note of how awesome it is. It's just that we're not going to do it because, meh.
Yeah. This was a pretty good match. I mean, you couldn't have Anderson get too much offense because it's basically a showcase for Balor. But they let him do something more than getting squashed. They let him have some control. They let him do some stuff. Frankly, looked better than he has in a lot of other club matches because the club has been mishandled tremendously.
Machine Gun's pretty good. Write it down.
Machine Gun's pretty good. Type it on up. This is a kind of a segue or a side note. The first time I saw Carl Anderson wrestle was at a ROH Survival of the Fittest. What was kind of amusing that was also the first night I saw T.J. Perkins wrestle.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. Coup de grace, 3 count, blah blah blah, done. Match did its point. We got a great thing with Heyman and Balor. It was a little unexpected. Overall, 2 thumbs up for this particular segment.
Yes.
Then we got Alicia Fox versus Sasha Banks, which it was a fine match and neither girl got hurt, so that's a win.
That's a definite step forward.
That's seriously, when you put Alicia Fox and Sasha Banks in the ring together, that's all I ask for is no one gets hurt.
Yeah, I did get to see the Northern Light suplex, which is really Alicia Fox's best move. But I think they're saving that so that that's going to be I would hope that that's going to be her finisher, and they just won't pull it out unless she's going to get a win.
I will say that for a girl, she does actually the good boot over the ropes pretty well, because she's just really flexible and really athletic in that regard. So it's not a hard move to do, but I will say I don't know many girls who do it quite that good. So I mean that's credit.
I would say that you are correct, sir.
The pin came after Banks hit the double knee smash in the corner when Fox got caught up in the ropes. Dar got into Banks' face a little bit. Banks gave him a good slap, and then we got a scissors kick from behind, and Alicia Fox stood tall with Noam Dar, and this feud is not actually over yet. Which in my notes it says "ugh," and I reiterate "ugh."
Indeed. Very much so.
Because this ain't doing anything for anyone.
It's at least getting some sort of a spotlight on Alicia Fox, but yeah, you paying Noam Dar to be the manager, you should really be paying his hairdresser because that guy is doing fantastic work with the bowl cut. It is fantastic. Sarcasm.
Callisto comes and finds Apollo Crews backstage, basically kind of insinuates that he may have attacked Enzo and that he's fighting Titus's battles for him. Apollo says, basically, how could you say that? And he talks about Titus's connections being a thing that could open doors for him, although what connections Titus O'Neil really is supposed to have is beyond me.
I don't know.
I get that, like, he's a motivational speaker, but how does that help Apollo Crews in any way?
They keep talking about him being at these conferences, he did a TED talk, and this, that, and the other, and he's supposed to be doing things outside of wrestling and that's what they've always been kind of saying things like that about him. The problem is that there's never ever follow-up. There's no reason for like, he was Dad of the Year. I don't know who voted for this. What was this, an award? Was it a kayfabe thing? I have no idea. Was it a WWE sponsored program that voted for him to be this thing. Nobody ever said anything about it, but they damn sure dropped that title for him for like 6 months straight. I just don't know. Like I missed his whole tag team title run with Darren Young, so I
which wasn't very good.
Yeah, I don't think that Darren Young or Titus O'Neil are in any way, shape, or form good, and probably should be sent to NXT for some developing or something. I don't know.
Every so often, Titus does something that I think there might be something behind in. Like when he overpowered Cass last week, I'm like, hey, I'm kind of enjoying this, and then they screwed it up, and the promo he cut making fun of Enzo, like there are like little sparks there, and then they book him into oblivion. And it's like, okay, if this guy is getting all these motivational speaking tours, Dad of the Year, if we assume for a moment that this is all true, and it might be, I don't know, and I don't particularly care, but the way they booked him makes it just not matter. Anyways, Titus comes in. He thinks that Callisto wants to be his client, which leads to this pesos euro thing, which pretty well sucked, except when he brought up food stamps, because I got a chuckle out of that.
Yeah, that was funny.
But aside from that, it was pretty bad. Callisto tells him no in no uncertain terms, and then Titus says, okay, then you got a match with Apollo, which I don't know. Why does a manager get to make matches? It seems a bit beyond their pay grade.
Yeah, well, again, that would make a lot of sense, or would have some tie-in if they would give us a reason to believe that this guy wearing a suit had had any power or had any influence for any reason. Like, give me a reason to buy into why this guy is just kind of strutting around. Otherwise, you just look like an idiot that's talking out loud on his cell phone. I see 3 or 4 of those idiots a day at the grocery store. I don't need anybody on, a wrestling show to be that asshole.
It feels like Titus O'Neil it feels like he's still being punished for touching Vince McMahon.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to touch Vince McMahon in the first place, so that was just a bad move all right.
I'm not saying it wasn't a bad move. I'm just saying it seems like he's still being punished for that with this whole Titus brand deal. We got a vignette with Goldust. Well, first we got the recap of Goldust beating down R-Truth, and then we got the Goldust vignette. It's pretty good. It basically looks like a return to his Shattered Dreams Productions incarnation, which I enjoyed. So let's roll with it.
I think I needed a bathroom break at that point. I think I missed that. I don't remember the promo or the vignette, so I'm in favor of Goldust being on camera. He's always good.
It was good, although not anything you need to go back and watch.
Yeah, I won't worry about it then.
We went to Alexa Bliss backstage. We get a little thing about her beating up Bayley, basically, and then she does this whole thing where she's like, am I supposed to feel bad for Bayley? Which, to be honest, I would prefer if she just like looked at it and went, that feels really good to watch me beat the crap out of Bayley. Like, don't even bring up I should feel bad, because I don't know. I really can't put my finger on why that actually bugged me, to be honest. So, I mean,
it's just your standard nonsensical heel thing, which is not what I'm used to seeing out of her. I'm used to seeing, basically, if it's scripted stuff, she's doing a really good job of actually making it sound good, which is not usual for them. But this sounded like your standard, I don't know what to say. I don't know what it sounded like a writer just didn't know what to write that day. So he's like, just do the standard thing and get some heat and then get out of there.
Also, if she had just been like, that felt good to hurt her like that, we put up like some of the sadistic thing, which would actually make the fact that we're trying to make a story out of Bayley can't do Extreme Rules, but Alexa can actually make sense, because it's not like Alexa has any history with Extreme Rules matches.
Yeah.
This, like, in a nutshell, she is not the female Mick Foley.
No.
So, I mean, I don't know. The storyline doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, Bailey not being Extreme does make sense, but the problem with Extreme Rules frankly, just as a pay-per-view as a whole, is you have so much of your roster that has no history doing hardcore matches. Therefore, anytime you build a storyline like this where it's like, can she get hardcore or can he get hardcore? It really kind of falls flat because the same question can be applied to the opponent.
Yep.
And apparently she's facing Mickie James later tonight. Again, for no real reason, because she just beat her 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we get a recap of Roman Reigns beating the crap out of Braun Strowman with a chair. And then we go to Kalisto versus Apollo Crews, which you know what? This was a good match for how short it was. And I do like the fact that while under Titus O'Neil's tutelage, I suppose, Apollo Crews is becoming a little less high flyer and a little bit more powerhouse wrestler. So
yeah, and he's also developing a character. Imagine that. He's not just smiley, wavy, flippy guy.
So despite all the crap we kind of said about the Titus O'Neil thing, it's kind of actually doing some favors for Apollo Crews.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I just don't see any reason to have, like, if they could have done it with anybody else, I would have encouraged that.
Yeah, so, I mean, some good's coming out of it, so I guess credit to the writing team and Apollo Crews for making something out of absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That is all. As for the match itself, Apollo Crews was basically kicking ass, and then Titus O'Neil distracted him, and Kalisto hit the Salida del Sol to get the win. And that kind of just derailed the storyline again, because apparently Titus O'Neil is going to cost you matches, Apollo. Why the hell is he your manager?
Yep, pretty much. There's no reason to stick with that.
Yeah, so moving on. We had Matt Hardy versus Sheamus. My first thought was, why is this not Cesaro versus Matt Hardy? Because we just saw Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus, and Sheamus lost. And this is for to name the stipulation at the pay-per-view. So it's kind of important. So why is Cesaro not working this match? I mean, we got our answer. It's called Matt Hardy was going to pin Sheamus, but
yeah. I don't know if they're saving Cesaro for something. It doesn't make any sense because they just did a heel turn. It doesn't make any sense at all to...
Yeah.
Like, are they going to try and do a double switch on Sheamus and break up the tag team and have Sheamus go face, which won't work? Or...
Sheamus as a face could work, but Cesaro as a face is by far a better option.
Yeah. I don't get it.
The match was paint by numbers, nothing bad, but nothing particularly good. The Hardys win after Matt hits a twist of fate, and there was a nice bit where Jeff Hardy intercepted the Cesaro interference effect, or attempt with a dive. So, good, fine, acceptable, but again, outside of the Heyman promo, nothing's getting me jacked here. Nothing's really hyping me up.
I mean, I'm interested in the Fatal 5-Way match, and I'm interested in the Hardys cage match. I don't even know. Let me look it up. I don't even know what the hell else is on the match. Isn't there supposed to be an I Quit match or something?
You got a submission match between Aries and Neville, which that should be good. And you've got Bliss and Bailey doing the smacky kendo stick on a pole match.
Yeah, and then you've got The Miz versus Ambrose in a reverse no DQ match.
Yeah, I don't know why that match just didn't end up being a no DQ.
Yeah, that's what I expected. Is like, oh, I want a no DQ match, and then you can cheat your balls off.
I never understand the concept of you can lose the title on the DQ, because it just invites a cheap title change where the heel intentionally sets up where, like, it's like you got Maurice coming to the ring with Miz every time, so you could totally just have Maurice just slap him, and technically that disqualifies Ambrose.
Yep. I have seen that kind of stipulation work in the past, but it's always because you've got a cowardly heel champion, and they always cheat to they don't even care. Like they might have the worst win record of all time.
This is the reverse of when it actually works though. Is it works when the heel has the belt. In this case, the heel is the chaser.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So my best hope is that this match will be at exactly 23 seconds long after some like 2 quick fake outs, and then Ambrose pulls some shenanigans and then gets the win, and then they just walk off. Because there's no reason to draw this out into an actual match. This should be like a spot that you pull.
Pretty much. Just to finish off the Hardy Sheamus stuff. So we've got a steel cage match, which doesn't make any sense because why is it not a ladder match? The Hardys won a tag team title in a ladders match, and that is their specialty. Why would they not pick it? And again, the feud continues to struggle because, these two teams should be able to do some good things. Like, these are 4 very good workers with actually quite different styles, and therefore you have a lot of different combinations in the deck. But instead of doing anything logical, we've had the Hardys beat Sheamus and Cesaro in 2 tag team matches and then in singles matches, and they get to pick the stipulation. So the deck is incredibly stacked against the heels. Why is this supposed to work?
I don't know. There's no reason to believe, even though there's. So I got two things that I have no reason to believe in. I've got no reason to believe that Sheamus and Cesaro can possibly win this match, but I've got no reason to believe that the WWE aren't going to put the belts on them because they've done this all wrong the whole way. They're pot committed now. They have to.
Pretty much. You might as well go for the 100% do it wrong.
Yeah, you've got both. You've got one leg in the quicksand. You might as well put the other one in, and it's not going to work either way. So just go with it, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. We got Austin Aries versus Tony Nese, and I've had this rant before, and it's going to happen again. What is the justification for Austin Aries, who has a title match on your pay-per-view, wrestling injured? Is there a heel that's in charge somewhere? What is it? I'm not saying you can't do this storyline. I'm saying you need to give me a reason why this storyline is happening. The GM of Raw is Kurt Angle, who last week went up to Bayley and offered her a non-Extreme Rules match at the pay-per-view, taking the side of the face and trying to protect them. Yet apparently he's sending Austin Aries out there on one leg repetitively to face off with guys who actually have a history of trying to destroy legs.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Where is the rationale?
I think the fact that 205 Live technically, and this is a weird, stupid thing, but I think their logic is that since 205 Live isn't storyline-wise under the control of either Raw or SmackDown, even though the Cruiserweights were supposed to be a Raw exclusive, and I guess they are, they're not technically under the authority of anybody, and then just things happen.
Then at the very
least,
makes no sense. At the very least, give me a backstage deal with Austin Aries and Angle, where Angle goes, "I really wouldn't have you wrestle this match, but it's out of my hands. There's someone else who handles the matchmaking." Something. Yeah. Give me a heel authority figure. I don't even like the heel authority figure, but it would make this make sense.
Yeah, it would give me something to go with. There's no reason for any of this to happen, and they've got a lot more people signed to 205 Live, so why are we watching the same 4 guys in the ring all the time?
It's not like you need more star power on Raw. If you did, have fucking Neville wrestle.
Yeah, and it's not like they don't have enough people on the Raw roster to fill 3 hours. Give 3 people, or give 3 matches 20 minutes each. Boom, you've filled an entire hour. And you've probably had 3 really good, well-done, story-told matches. Holy crap, I'm the best booker Raw's ever had. Oh, wait, I'm not.
Also, but nothing about this match actually added to the storyline between Neville and Aries. No. It's nothing. With all that
The only reason they had this match was so that they could make a submission match stipulation. That was it. There was no reason to do it any other way.
Yeah. With that being said, the match itself was fine. Tony Nese is a perfectly acceptable worker. Austin Aries is really good. Aries would largely get the better of it, except when Neville would distract him or his knee would be a little bit wonky. And a good spot here. Tony Nese actually countered Austin Aries' kind of elbow strike thing off the top with just smacking him in the face with his own elbow, which was good. And there was a vertical suplex that Aries reversed into a guillotine choke and then chained into a last chancery to get the tap out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Neville attacked Nese afterwards and locked him in the ring's Saturn, and that led us to our submission match. The match was fine. It was too short to be especially good, but just the story is just dumb.
Yep. It's gone on for way too long. There's no reason for Neville to have gotten see, I don't know. Like, if they're desperate to establish 205 Live as something, then yeah, you need a long-term champion.
But then you also need some good quality matches on the show, which, case in point, we didn't. Yeah. We got 205 matches. Tozawa, like I said, Tozawa versus Daivari made me want to see a longer match between the two, but was too short to actually be any good. And this match here was also too short to be any good.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know. It's like you know what I think is, I think Vince wants 205 Live to fail, and he always has. And this is just Vince 101. Hire all of these great wrestlers, let none of them wrestle. He's done it for decades. He's hired all kinds of people so that no one else can have them, and he doesn't let them wrestle. And they have to do wrestle by numbers, 1, 2, 3 matches every week until no one's interested. And then he's had them under contract for 2, 3, 6, 7 years, and then they can go back on the indie scene and nobody really cares because they can't really wrestle anymore because the best days are behind them. It's just Vince 101.
Probably not that far from the truth.
I mean, I think we're lucky to be able to see things on NXT, and I think by Triple H doing things with NXT and now 205 Live, that things will change because they'll have no choice. If you make Aleister Black to suddenly wrestle your standard nonsense garbage 1, 2, 3 wrestle by numbers WWE style match, people are gonna be pissed.
Or even like Hideo Itami, or hell, even Roderick Strong's style would have to be altered to fit WWE's current product.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we had Mickie James versus Alexa Bliss in a pointless match because, again, Bliss beat her 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
She's the champion. Why is she facing her again?
I don't know. And there's no reason that Mickie James shouldn't be holding the title. If you want to establish a credible title, you have to have a credible champion.
I'm fine with Mickie James not having the title because you can make Alexa Bliss into a credible champion. But the fact that Mickie James is effectively doing nothing is painful. She's the third wheel in the feud between Bayley and Alexa Bliss, basically. And it's doing nothing for her, it's doing nothing for the feud, and it's doing nothing for the division.
Yep.
Case in point, you've got Alicia Fox feuding with Sasha Banks. Why don't we have Mickie James doing something down there? Like, anything. A feud of her own would be good. Hell, put her with Nia Jax, because the whole Alexa Bliss-Nia Jax partnership seems to have gone out the window, because for the second week in a row, we didn't have it.
Exactly.
The match was perfectly serviceable. I will say that there was a moment where I think they kind of lost the plot, so to speak, where Mickie James wound up in the corner, and I feel like she was supposed to take a bump or something, and she didn't, so she just kind of like really slowly turned into Alexa Bliss, hitting her with an elbow.
Yeah, I think I was under the impression watching that Alexa Bliss fucked up some timing. Mickie James turned expecting to be instantly pounced upon, and then she just wasn't there.
I imagine it's Bliss because I have more faith in Mickie James than Alexa Bliss right now. Now, Bliss, I think, is going to be a fantastic worker in the future, but yeah, she's green enough that I would probably put it on her. Bliss gets the win after a DDT. It's short, serviceable, but again, pointless.
Yep.
Bliss did go for the kendo stick, and she gave a whack to Mickie James, and then Bayley made the save. You know what? This was better use than last week, where they had basically Bliss just beat up Bayley.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're going to do a spanking spot with the kendo stick at some point.
Part of me is really happy about that, and part of me isn't.
As a chauvinistic male, I will state for the record that I am in favor of anything involving Alexa Bliss and poles. I'm fine with it.
Onwards to the main event, we get Bray Wyatt, Samoa Joe versus The Shield, basically Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Once again, I have to note that the only time Roman Reigns gets cheered is when we basically have callbacks to The Shield, either with Seth Rollins or with Dean Ambrose.
Well, they did it at the Royal Rumble, where they had a full Shield reunion, and the crowd went fucking bugfuck crazy.
Well, just me, like, even earlier in the show when they were standing tall after they sent Joe and Bray out, it's like, Shield, Shield, Shield. I'm like, yeah, Roman was over at one point.
Yep.
Not as a single, though.
Narp.
And whose fault is that? 'Cause I'm going to give you a hint. It's not actually Roman Reigns'.
Vince.
Pretty much. Anyways, as for the match itself, I do like the crab walk being like a counter to Roman Reigns' Superman punch. That's pretty cool.
That was good.
Yeah, it's just like, oh god, I'm so freaked out I can't even remember how to do a Superman punch. That's great. I will say this: wrestlers need to watch how Samoa Joe works the outside of the ring. He had Roman Reigns out there, and he's like giving him a good work down, giving him some good punches and stuff, and it's a believable beatdown that a lot of them don't do, because a lot of people spend too much time just kind of throwing the guy around in a manner that's, if you know anything about like throws in martial arts and stuff, it's going to tire you out more than it actually does damage. So everyone just watch Samoa Joe. Do you have anything you want to add to this match?
They should probably make Samoa Joe a required course in wrestling school.
I'll be down with that.
They should anybody joining NXT should not even hit the Performance Center until they've sat at home and watched a full week of Samoa Joe matches.
I'd throw a couple other guys in there just for variety, and yeah.
Correct.
Joe would definitely be on that required viewing list. This was a hell of a hot tag though for Rollins. I'll say that much. I mean, the offense he hit was varied. It was a furious pace. It really caught the attention of probably everyone in the crowd, and that's what a hot tag should really do. So good, very good work. He eventually does get stuffed by Joe and Bray Wyatt though, and Bray goes for Sister Abigail. Roman Reigns with the save with the Superman punch. They do a little pinball with Joe, and then Reigns goes for the Superman punch, and Joe avoids it, and the heads collide between Rollins and Roman. We get one of my like least favorite cliches in wrestling, which is dumb faces, because you have very clearly a accidental contact. It's not even like he Superman punched Rollins. Like they literally bashed heads. It's clear that Roman did not mean to do anything, but they have to pick her.
It was very, very obvious to literally everyone, including Tyler Black, that he pulled the punch. He avoided Superman punching a former friend. He did not, in any way, shape, or form, intend to do this. And yet we get stupid face turn. Yeah,
I've never really understood WWE specifically, although other promotions do this. Impact was also a big offender in this regard, where the face is just dumb. Why am I cheering for him if he's an idiot?
Yarp.
Anyways, we end up with Bray Wyatt drags Roman Reigns to the outside. Joe locks in the Coquina clutch on Seth Rollins and gets him to tap out, and the heels win. And It has to be said that the heels were a more cohesive unit, despite the fact that just 1 week ago, and in fact earlier in this show, they had turned on each other.
Yep.
So again, dumb face is going to be dumb, and it's just painful.
She's not good, man.
It's not good, not good, not good. Balor meets with Kurt Angle backstage, and this is where he screwed up Balor's name and called him Baylor. And you know what? Finn, no reaction. Just consummate cool professional. We basically get Balor wants a main event level match in a nutshell. Angle makes it sound like he's not going to do it, and then he does it with putting him in there with Joe and Bray Wyatt in a 3-way. And we're also going to get Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. So, I mean, hopefully those are all good matches.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm really not looking forward to Reigns versus Rollins because they won't. This is going to be WWE booking stupid matches again. There's no reason for these people to be in all of these matches. By the time your pay-per-view rolls around, I've seen the match you're trying to put on. I've seen every move they're going to be allowed to use. Unless you're doing something very cool, in which case I'll probably miss it because I won't be paying attention because I'll be bored with the match already. There's no reason for me to even give a shit. I've seen all 5 of these guys wrestle each other now in conceivably every combination. Barring maybe 1 or 2 mathematically.
I think we haven't really seen Rollins versus Finn Balor.
No, but we saw that last year anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you run into the problem of seeing people in various combinations in a 365-day period with just a small roster.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no reason for me to care at all. And I was actually looking forward to this Fatal 5-Way. It's just that now I'm only really looking forward to seeing if they're going to give Balor the win or if they're going to stick with Bray Wyatt. Those are the only 2 things I really care about now, because I don't care about Rollins in the ring. He's not exciting. He does standard stuff. I'm not excited about Reigns because he's got the 3 or 4 moves of doom, and that's all he does, and that's fine. It's not that he's a bad worker. He can have a hell of a match against guys. It's just that he's not going to have a hell of a match against these guys. They're not going to do anything with Samoa Joe because that would make a lot of sense, and it's not going to happen. They're going to... Well, it makes a lot of sense, but it also makes a lot more sense to slow build Joe versus Lesnar, especially because they don't seem to have the balls to take the title off the part-timer. They're paying him too much money. I guess they got to have him be the champ. But... yeah, all of the talk has been that Bray Wyatt's going to be the guy. Whether or not Vince changes his mind 32,000 times 1 minute before the actual match and then changes everything remains to be seen.
Pretty much. I mean, this episode of Raw, despite the fact that none of the in-ring action was bad, and even the promos weren't necessarily bad.
No.
It just kind of showed the flaws in the overall booking of the product right now on Raw. With, again, we have a tag team title match, which went from being one that was like, hey, this is cool, to Sheamus and Cesaro can't possibly win, and if they do win, it's retarded.
Yeah.
And they've mishandled the Bayley Bliss build-up, and they've mishandled the Fatal 5-Way build-up pretty badly. They have a retarded program for the Cruiserweight title right now that doesn't make any sense to anyone with a brain. The Goldust Truth breakup was booked well. I had to find something decent.
Yeah.
You have people who are not doing anything despite being very talented. Mickie James being a great example of that. And a couple of others even. And yeah, just not very good right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a shame because I don't think I've ever had more people on the roster that I've liked.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that if next week's Raw is very good, that means the pay-per-view will not be any good at all, because they're just gonna do the same people in matches that they were going to do on the pay-per-view. So again, you've already seen virtually everything those performers can do already, so you don't have to pay for it because you've already seen it.
All right, we've been wet blankets for, I suppose, long enough. Let's
Yeah.
call it a day, and we'll see you for the SmackDown review.
For reals.